finna go home. Her labor stopped, like right then and there. She didn't even have the baby to the next day. If she had been in the hospital and her labor stopped like that would have been a wrap.
If her late, what do you mean by her labor stopped?
It stopped. Like she stopped contracting. Like I was anxious the whole night because I was thinking, oh my gosh, like I couldn't sleep because I was just waiting for the phone call and like she never called. And that was like 3 or 4 o'clock that Friday afternoon. When
Mhm.
she called me to say, like, okay, my water broke, I'm having contractions again, it was 8 o'clock the next day, and the baby was here at 12:22. And that was 8 p.m., not a.m. So her labor stalled for that long. Had she been in the hospital, and she knew that, she was like, well, I would have been in the hospital, they wouldn't have just let me just chill. They would have been trying to give me a C-section. They call it failure to progress, but sometimes things just take time.
Yeah, and we are live on Facebook just to know. So I see people
Okay.
already logging in. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're about to start the radio show in a minute. So let me make sure I share it to everybody's page. But yeah, let me share this one. Yeah, so we're about to start right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch the mics to the radio station, so you won't be able to hear me until the radio station starts.
Okay.
That'll be in 2 minutes. Let's see. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm so sorry about that. Welcome to the UTurn Show. Once again, we have our special guest, Miss Passion Grantham. And once again, we are here to discuss what she does. Once again, this is the UTurn Radio Show, 106.9 FM on your radio dial. Awesome show, awesome people. Once again, uh, we thank y'all for tuning in. Sorry about that delay. So, real quick, a doula.
Yes.
Can you explain to the people what a doula is?
Okay, so a doula is considered an emotional support person. So when you think of a doula, think of the person that is like rubbing your back, that is educating you during your pregnancy, that is wiping your forehead when you're having contractions, that is assisting you after you have your baby, coming, taking care of the baby while you shower, maybe fixing some food, taking care of siblings, things like that. So pretty much an extra support person that has a little bit of medical background, that assists with making decisions and things like that.
Oh, okay. And that's something that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
So, what caused you to want to get into that field?
So all of my life, from the time I was a little girl, I've always been interested in childbirth and just birth. I remember as a little girl watching like Discovery Health and watching like just labor shows and like YouTube and just labor stuff. And my mom never kind of, I know like a lot of parents like, oh, turn it off, don't look at that. But my mom never, I don't recall her ever saying anything about that. And so I always would say like, oh, I want to deliver babies when I grow up. But when I went to college, for some reason, like labor and delivery didn't really resonate with me, simply because I wasn't really a fan of hospitals. And so I was kind of like, don't really know if I want to do labor and delivery. So I went on to I chose to do social studies, but I got to my senior year and I did my internship at an organization called the YWCA. And at the time, my supervisor, her name is Brandy Calhoun, she was into like the more holistic side of birth work. And so she began to talk to me about like birthing centers, home births, midwives, doulas, things like that. And it was then where I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Like, this is right down my alley. And she was a part of a lot of like reproductive justice organizations and things like that. So I really got to kind of tap in to birth work. I became a doula through that organization. And so that pretty much started my journey. And I've just been hitting the road running ever since then.
Oh, okay. So, explain to the people what a doula does.
Okay, so doulas are different than midwives. So, like midwives do the medical part, or like your OB, your midwife.
That's good.
They're all in the same category. So, like if you had a midwife or OB, they will do your prenatal care. They will like catch your baby. They will do your cervical exams and do your lab work and things like that. Pretty much for me, and the uniqueness of it is there's no standard doula. Everybody offers their services different. But for me, once my clients hire me, typically I do childbirth education with all my clients before pregnancy. And I always talk to each one of my clients about what they feel like they need in order to be supported. Some of my clients have lots of support, and some of them don't have that much support. And so I've helped do gender reveals, I've hosted baby showers, I've helped pack hospital bags, go baby shopping, things like that. And doing like labor, I'm there from the time pretty much I get the call and it's go time until that baby is here. Sometimes I'm at births 2-3 days. I've been at C-sections. I've been at hospital births, medicated and unmedicated. I've done home births. I've pretty much kind of seen it all. And even in postpartum, I go and I assist moms. Like I kind of said earlier, sometimes my moms just need to take a nap. Sometimes they just need food and I'll go cook. Sometimes they need errands ran and I'll go run errands, or they need me to watch the other siblings so they can focus on the baby. And so the gist of it is whatever the family feels like they need in order to be supported. That's what I do. But I have the medical background to actually help them with the decision making, because there's a lot of decisions that have to be made when it comes to birth.
Okay, so it's more it's more uh physical and
Yeah,
emotional.
physical and emotional. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, and so you mentioned something about I know we were talking earlier. You mentioned part about being having home births, and a lot
Yes,
of people are skeptical about
yes,
that. Now,
absolutely.
would you advocate for somebody who was skeptical about having a home birth?
The number one reason why I hear people say like that they're fearful or have reservations about having home birth is, well, what if something happens? And I always tell I always tell people, especially if you're an African American woman, it's more likely that something's going to happen in the hospital before it happens at home. And I say that because statistically, even here in Wayne County, African American women and babies are 3 to 4 times more likely to die compared to white babies. And so that shows us that there's obviously some barriers going on in our health system. Most of the time, especially if you're low risk, there's no need to birth at the hospital. Many people think, oh, I'm pregnant, I just have to go to the hospital. But no, there's options. And hospitals are for emergencies, and birth is not an emergency. Um, Granted, if you have something going on like placenta abruption, which is where your placenta abrupts before the baby comes out, or if you have like an infection, something really, really serious, of course, you absolutely need to be in the hospital. But if you're having a good pregnancy, everything is going fine. There's been like no concerns or anything like that. Birthing at home is definitely an option.
Okay, okay, all right. So and you also mentioned the disparity
Yeah,
between African American women and the dangers that are presented uh through hospitals. And we talked about, as I told you before, my grandmother, my great grandmother was a midwife
right.
who delivered uh my daddy's my daddy's brothers and sisters. And we were talking about, I think you said that actually that's where it pretty much came from, with us not being able to go to the
Absolutely.
hospitals.
So pretty much what happened is, when we were enslaved, we had no, like, we delivered our babies and we also delivered, everybody else's babies too. And so when we were freed, it was kind of like, well, y'all got to show us like what to do. Even when you go back to breastfeeding, we breastfed their babies. They didn't know how to feed their babies because that's what we did. And so once we got freed and they didn't have us to do that for them anymore, that's where the conversion, I would say, happened, because now y'all taught us what to do, but we're going to take it into these hospitals where you all can't come, and we're going to do it in these hospitals. So even while they were delivering in the hospitals, we still were delivering at home, surrounded by women in the community, surrounded by people in the village. That was still what we were doing. And so back in those days, you had a plethora of Black people who were midwives. But see, now the things have changed because um society has taken what we taught them and now put a price on it and put the requirements and the barriers up here to where we can't reach. Which is like, how? Like, we taught y'all wouldn't even be doing this if y'all didn't learn from us.
Okay. And you mentioned the requirements.
Right.
What are the requirements of being a doula, a midwife? And I know you mentioned two separate.
Yes.
Maybe so
So
you can explain to the people uh, what are the difference.
there's many certifying bodies of doula trainings. For me personally, I went through donors, which is Doulas of North America. It's the most prestigious, if you will, organization that certifies doulas, and so that's where I went through to do my training. I did a 2-day training, and then I had to go through an extensive process to actually get certified. So now I can claim the title. I'm a certified doula through Donna, which is pretty big, like in other birth worker people's eyes. But there's many organizations that you can go through, and most of them have like I said, like pretty short trainings. The most of the experience you get is hands-on. So when it comes to midwives, you have certified professional midwives, and then you have certified nursing midwives. And those are the two most popular types of midwives. There's even more than that, but those are the two most popular. And so in North Carolina, only certified nursing midwives are legal, but in 33 out of 50 states, certified professional midwives are legal. The difference is when you're a certified nursing midwife, you actually have to go to nursing school. And so you actually have a nursing background. So about 6 to 7 years of schooling. You go through that, and then you go, you work up under somebody to get your experience. Certified professional midwife, well, certified nursing midwives can be seen in hospital settings and out of hospital settings. So in the state of North Carolina, there are less than 10 certified nursing midwives that are licensed to do home birth, because even after you become a midwife, you still have to take it a step further, and you have to find a supervising physician to oversee and like sign off on your paperwork if you want to do home birth. But most of them are not going to want to do that because you're taking money out of their pockets. And so out of those small group of midwives that are able to do home births, only one is a person of color. And she did my home birth in 2020. I had her both pregnancies. She's amazing. But she's all the way in Durham, so she's kind of far. So she doesn't even travel to Goldsboro anymore. So we don't even have any coverage on this side. Certified professional midwives, they pretty much do internships up under midwives, and then they go through a certification process as well. But they typically practice in out of hospital settings, since they're specifically for home birth, since they don't have like that hospital nursing background per se. But certified professional midwives, and they don't need like,
they need the doctor to sign off.
that's what I was about to say. They don't have to have that overhead too. And so for people that want to do home birth, it makes it more accessible for them. The downside about certified professional midwives, they do not take insurance because they're not legal in our state, but certified nursing midwives do. So
but now those professional midwives, they still practice.
Oh yeah, they're practicing in North Carolina. I don't know any of color that practice, but the ones I do know, they're white. And they're considered like underground. And so yeah, they work. I'm in a lot of birth groups, and it's to the point like they won't even like post their names, but they'll message you privately and kind of let you know like who's practicing, where they're practicing at, because they can get in a lot of trouble for practicing illegally.
Okay, so that's your end goal, to become a certified professional midwife?
My end goal is to be a certified nursing midwife, just because I know with me, especially being a person of color, if I feel like if I try to go the other route, I'm just feeding myself to the wolves. But if by the time I get there and they're legal, I'm going for it, because I don't desire to work in a hospital setting. So I don't feel like I need to learn that background. And when I started nursing school, I actually started nursing school in 2020. And I was dismissed from nursing school for not turning in none of my practice problems. All the people of color, we were actually dismissed out the program.
Wow.
But
what was this program at?
Wayne Community College.
Oh, okay.
So I when I was even doing that process, the stuff I was learning about all the medicines and all that, like it was like I felt like I was wasting my time, because I'm like, I don't care to even be doing any of this, learn about geriatrics and the ER and all. I just want to learn about birth. That's all that I want to. And so it kind of felt like it was a waste of my time, but I knew it was something that I had to do in order to get where I needed to go.
Mm-hmm. So what is one of the biggest, I guess, issues that you may see being a midwife or a doula? What are some of the the tough the tough cases? Because I saw you working with a lady the other day, and you were, massaging her, getting ready for birth.
Yes.
So what are some of the difficult things that you may face?
I think that the most difficult is when I see providers that don't have the best interest in the client at heart. So like you have a lot of providers now that they're pushing for inductions, they're pushing for C-sections because they get more money.
And by provider, you mean hospitals or physicians,
Yes,
or okay,
yes. And they push for these things that's really more convenient for them, and not necessarily convenient for the baby because, like I said, they get more money. And so then when you kick back or when you push back, then we're gonna come with the fear tactics. Oh, well, this can happen to you. Oh, this is what can happen to your baby. Coercion. They try to coerce
okay.
to get you to kind of do what they want to do. And it's all well and fine, until we get there and we're kind of faced with it because sometimes my clients they fold.
Okay.
And then, with me knowing what I know and me, trying to support, and I obviously support, but the hardest part for me is having to endure that secondary trauma when things go wrong or when my client isn't satisfied with their birth process. It affects me because I have to witness it too. Even though I'm not having a baby, I'm there and I'm an intricate part, so I witness it too. So I definitely would say that's hard. And then just people not trusting their bodies. Like your body is always going to tell you what to do. Even when I had my home birth, and some people like don't believe me when I say this, I did not have to push my baby out. I was so relaxed, so calm that my body literally did the pushing for me. It's called fetal rejection reflex. So I really don't know what it feels like to push out a baby. Like my body just did it on its own. I really didn't put no effort to it.
And what do you attribute that to?
To me being at home, being relaxed in my place of comfort, with my dim lights and my music, surrounded by the people I love, just being in tune with my body. Because when I'm in labor, I pretty much tune everybody out, and I'm talking to myself. I'm trying to keep myself focused, and so I was just so calm that my body literally was able to do what it was meant to do in the first place. And it was different because when I had my first child, I ended up getting preeclampsia right at the end. So I didn't get my home birth. Now, preeclampsia can be fatal, seriously fatal, not them just saying it's fatal, but
Okay.
it's seriously fatal for mom and baby. And so I did.
Explain, to the layman what preeclampsia means.
Okay, so preeclampsia is an issue with like your liver. So your liver enzymes are like way higher. So it's basically not functioning properly. And so like normal levels are like 500. When they did my blood work, mine were like over 2,000. And so they literally came to me and was like, you got to have this baby right now. And I ain't had no baby bag. I ain't had no car. I mean, I had it, but not with me because I wasn't expecting to have a baby. And people usually experience like extreme swelling. They might start seeing spots, have bad headaches, stuff like that. And usually those do end in induction because the only way to cure it is to get the baby out so that the liver can function properly. And so I had that experience being at the hospital. And even while I was there, they were trying to do stuff that I knew weren't right. Like, for example, they were trying to tell me I had to stay in the bed. And I'm like, no, I'm finna get up. I'm finna move around. And they were like, we got these liability papers you got to sign, just in case something happens. And I kept telling them, like, bring me the papers. I asked them 3 times for them papers I never got. Because I'm not gonna lay here and then get no epidural. And then y'all be trying to say I got to get a C-section. I'm not finna do it.
And actually we talked about, because I in a lot of places I've heard that it's better to stand up and have a baby because when you're squatting, the gravity helps the baby come down instead of laying horizontally when you're having to push.
Any position having a baby is better than being on your back. And that's why with all my clients, I try to get them up and active. Like, we're gonna move, we're gonna squat, we're gonna dance, we're gonna do hands and knees, we're gonna do some lunges, we're going to labor on the toilet, we getting peanut balls, we moving, we up.
What's a peanut ball?
So a peanut butter.
Wait a minute. Wait, I got to pause for station identification. Once again, you are listening to Awesome Radio 106.9 FM. Make sure you go to our website, www.wbisawesomeradio.org. Google Play, App Store, and Alexa. You can download our apps. And I do want to thank all of our listeners and viewers in Radioland, and also our viewers on Facebook, especially Dr. Perkins, which is Passion's mother. I certainly thank you for tuning in. Rivetta Outlaw says she loves us. We love you too,
Thank
Rivetta.
you.
K. Nichelle Smith, natural birth and breastfeeding should be what doctors are
It
pushing.
should be.
Let me see. Let's go back. Duprez Motif. I think that's Mr. Grantham.
That
Thank
is.
you, sir. He's
Thank
definitely
you.
proud of you. Aries Queen as well. Dee Dee, Ressa. Irish Etheridge is also proud of you. Step C. Willer says she loved the way you breaking it down. And of course, my brother Roger Blunt, definitely giving propers to the Black woman in everything that you are giving us, my brother Brody. Definitely thank y'all for tuning in. We're gonna get back to it. So now with after the baby gets here, and we talked about this as far as the immunizations. Do you advocate for those hospitalized immunizations, or have you what is your position that you've seen people take on those?
I personally feel like it's one of those things that's kind of like pro-choice. I don't knock people like if that's what you choose to do. Am I a go hard rock fan? Like, oh, you need to get that baby them shots? No, not at all. A lot of people don't know, and I might actually confirm this with a pediatric doctor, that Medicaid patients get a different set of medicines compared to babies with private insurance. And so the pediatric doctor told me it's like the Medicare babies get Walmart brand spaghetti sauce, and the private insurance gets like regular, like Ragu spaghetti sauce. And she also said that the Medicaid immunizations are sometimes multiple in one. And why can't we all get Ragu? Because who is mostly on Medicaid? People of color. Who has the highest rates of autism? Black African American boys. There's been studies to show that immunizations, they are linked to certain things. You see studies that go both ways. And so I definitely tell people, like, if you're not going to get your baby any shots or anything, you definitely want to breastfeed, because breastfeeding alone provides your baby with the extra covering or extra set of immunities. Like, I breastfed both of my kids over a year. They never get sick, never, like, they're always pretty healthy. And keep them like up to date on their vitamins. Make sure that they're eating healthy. Don't go not get your kids no shots and then feed them sugar every day, because that's not being effective.
Okay. Yeah. All right. And because actually once again, Dr. Perkins said private insurance clients being treated better than Medicaid.
Oh yeah, I see that all the time. I've had literally there was one time I was actually at Biden, and I had two clients going to labor at the same time, and one had Medicaid and one had private insurance. And when I tell you, from the treatment to the size of the room to the staff, it was definitely a difference, like to the point where I had to speak up because I was disgusted. And what we not finna do is do this with my clients. Like, the doctor was like, oh, you over here too? Yeah, I'm over here, and I see what you're doing, and this is what you're not finna do. Not with my client. No, you ain't.
Okay, so that's advocacy as well, because I know a lot of times when I mean, I've only had one child, but I assume when women are in the hospital going through this experience, they're not as coherent and able to make those decisions. And sign this. So sign this. We need to do this. And you just thinking, I'm in pain. whatever it takes to get this baby out, which doesn't
I
necessarily, I
will do
think,
it. That's
according.
it. And
But
that's
you said a
why
lot of
I
those things.
usually, when the doctor come in, like, oh, we want to do this, I say, give us a second, and I really try to break it down. Okay, this is what they saying. These are the pros. These are the cons. What do you want to do? Even when it comes down to the placenta, I could break it down a little bit further. So
Okay.
they tell us that they're gonna throw the placentas in the trash. No. So the placentas are worth millions of dollars, and they use them to make medicines. They
Mm,
use them for testing. And for me, I ain't trying to be another Henrietta. You ain't finna be
yeah,
replicating. Yes, you're not finna be replicating using my DNA, and don't think you finna give me a dime of my organs.
okay.
So I tell all my clients, even if you're not going to do anything with your placenta, because some of my clients, I take them and I could turn the placenta into pills, I could turn them into keychains, I could turn them into body butters for like my C-section clients. I've made cookies, brownies, smoothies. There's so much I can do with it. But I tell my clients, even if you don't want to do none of that, take it and throw it in the trash. At least you know what's really going in the trash.
So actually, is there certain nutrients still in the placenta
Yes,
that
yes.
can
And
be
so
useful
this
for?
is, this is another thing. So, like when you're at the hospital, they so quick to cut that cord because they trying to hurry up and get that placenta. But actually, they should keep it pulsating. They should let it fall off on its own. And that process is called lotus birth. When you just leave the placenta attached and like it'll fall off on its own. The cord will dry up and it'll just fall off. Even in a hospital, they even be tripping sometimes about delaying the cord clamping, like letting it stay up there a few minutes. They be tripping about that, but it's still pumping those
Those
nutrients, so they be
nutrients.
missing out on
Yeah,
those nutrients. And
yeah.
even my clients that do like the placenta encapsulations, which is me turning the placenta into pills, that's putting the nutrients back in their body.
Okay. So the
It's
clients will
helpful.
actually take
Yes.
those pills
But I
and
have some that's kind of like, nah, I don't want to eat it. And so that's why I came up with other things that they can do. Um, like the keychains, making jewelry rings, the other stuff that I named earlier. That's why I came up with other things in case they didn't want to ingest. At least you know that you're doing something with your own organs versus them just using it to make medicines that if you need, you probably ain't gonna never be able to afford anyway.
yeah, and that's one thing I've done some study on that as well, and the brother was talking about, yeah, you leave the umbilical cord on so you
Yep.
can get that nutrients, and even down to I don't watch this show, but I've heard the Kardashians were talking about eating placentas
Yeah.
as well, but people were thinking they were crazy, but there's actually
Oh,
some,
they on to something.
yeah, there's actually some.
Now, some people eat it raw. I ain't that far
I
on
think
the other
they
people.
were eating it raw.
Yeah, I ain't over there that far. But if
Oh,
I can grind it up, put it in something where I can't see it and can't taste it, I'm good.
oh, okay. So there's so much to the birthing process
Yes.
that people don't know, and so
Mhm.
we need definitely education. People
Yeah.
like you who are not invested in the quick hurry up and get them out, hurry up epidural, or hurry up and
Yes.
C-section, because I guess all of those processes mean more money for the
And
hospital.
they even make people feel like if you get one C-section, you have to keep getting them, and that is not true. That is so not true. Or they make people feel like if your baby is breech, men and feet forward, that you have to get a C-section. That is not true. It's more so their level of comfort, their level of skill. They may not feel comfortable. And so that's what they feel like they have to do. But I know people that have had out of hospital births after 4 and 5 cesareans. I've known people to birth a vaginal baby. And I hear some people say, well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Anywhere you birth is a risk. Even if the baby is fine and you just birth regular, it's all still a risk. You taking a risk either way.
So once again, I'm gonna pause for station identification. 106.9 FM, awesomeradio.org. Here on the UTurn Show in Greenville, Winterville, and Aden. We thank you once again out to our radio audience for listening, and also our social media audience as well. And we're gonna move on because I do have we do have to talk about this. You are married, right?
Yes.
you are married, and something I talked about with you earlier. You've been married for how long? 5 years, you said?
Yes.
And so you are married with two children,
Yes.
and you are a young couple. Like what? You're
Yes.
25, 26, somewhere in
20, yeah, 20, we'll be 26 and 30 this year.
Okay, so being such a young couple, as I spoke, what is your secret to avoiding? Because like these days and age, I think what 70% of African American children and a lot more races as well are born to single parent household, which means
Right.
mothers who are not married.
Right.
So what was your motivation for doing things quote unquote the right way, and how do you know.
And so I grew up in a single parent home. My mom didn't get married till I was in the high school, so I was, pretty much kind of on my way out. Um,
Okay.
and my father was in prison. And so that was one thing I always said. When I wanted kids, I always definitely wanted them to have a father that was present. Even if that meant I wasn't married, I just wanted them to have a father I was present. As far as me being married, the opportunity it just kind of fell fell in my lap. But I will say that like being young and kind of we've had the opportunity to grow together because I've been with him since I was 16 years old and I'm 26 now. And
Mhm.
so just making the commitment to kind of to work through it, to grow through it, to move through it has been very helpful. And also just being surrounded by a positive like support system that supported us even when we weren't all the way together, even when we was rough around the edges.
Mhm.
Just having people in our corner, and we had people that felt like that we weren't going to make it or that we wouldn't get to this point where we are now. But now that we're older, now that we're more mature, we always look back like, wow, like we really came a long way. And I think the most important thing that I can say is that I found a partner, somebody that's willing to pick up where I slack, that's willing to push, that's willing to support, that's willing to be there on the highs and the lows till the wheels fall off and vice versa. And I think that that's very important. A lot of people marry, for different reasons, but one thing that was important to me, I need to know that I don't just have a husband. I need to have a partner because when stuff shifts, when stuff gets shaky, when stuff ain't right, I need to know, we got this, we in this, and we gonna figure it out. Like don't leave me hanging. And
Mhm.
that's kept us going.
So y'all, and actually, you said last week because I asked you to be on the show last week, but you was invited to a marriage, to be a guest in a marriage
We
seminar.
were. That was our first time. It was an amazing experience.
So how did y'all do? Like, did you get to share your experience, or you
We
just
did
gleaned from
good.
older
We
couples?
did good, and we got a lot of positive feedback and a lot of interaction. Most people always like they never believe we're so young, because they're like we seem so wise, we seem so older, but it's just going through so many experiences at a young age, like with each other, just dealing with just people, and then I went off to college, so I was gone for 4 years in Greensboro, and he was here, so we've done long distance.
Okay.
We've done him out of work, and I'm having to be breadwinner. He be stay at home dad, and now it's him being breadwinner. I'm being stay at home mom. Like we've had to switch it up and move it around, and so we pretty much experienced had a lot of different experiences, and so I think that that's why we can relate to so many people, even people that are many years older than us.
Yeah, and your husband says it was an amazing experience and a learning experience as well. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you are able to share that, what works for you, because everybody has this idea where marriage is supposed to be a certain way or a certain way all the time. But as you explained, sometimes you got to pick up the slack, and
Yeah.
sometimes he is you may not have to do anything, but that's
Right.
what it means to being a partner. And just to give people also another level of dedication of what Miss Passion is doing. She told me that she actually has to drive 2.5 hours
Yes.
2 or 3 times a week back and forth to attend this class to obtain another certification. So you're talking about
Yes.
dedication to continuing to grow and to learn. And I just want to commend you on that.
I appreciate it
as well. And we talked another thing. You guys have 2 young children, right? How old
yes.
how old are your children?
So we have a 3-year-old and we have a 1-year-old. She'll be 2
Oh
this
wow. Okay. 3 and 1. Okay.
Yes,
So
wisdom
y'all
and knowledge.
wisdom and knowledge. Okay.
Yes.
And she's definitely given us a lot of that
Yes.
so far. So I thank you as well. Terica Rhodes says, love this. She's proud of
Thank you. That's my cousin.
Aletta Taylor, great example of making marriage work between the two of
Thank
you.
you.
Mael Thompson also says he is proud of you. How you doing, Mr.
Thank
Thompson?
you. That's my family.
Yeah. And there's so many people, Keisha DeWitt, Roderick Blunt, everybody. We certainly thank you for tuning in. So with the children, you mentioned something that I've heard conscious and I've heard parenting, but I never heard it put together, conscious parenting. So give our audience a little of what that means to you.
So for me, conscious parenting is just making sure that my kids, I'm nurturing them in all areas, emotionally, physically, spiritually, well-rounded. I think a lot of times, even when I was growing up, that parents tend to just focus on, okay, I'm gonna make sure you got clothes, I'm gonna make sure you go to school, I'm gonna take care of your needs. But there's not a lot of really catering to your emotions. How are you feeling? How am I doing as a parent? And is there anything else you need from me? The same thing that you would do like with your spouse. I think it's important to do that with your kids because they're going to grow up to be adults, and I don't want my children to grow up and be dysfunctional, to grow up and not know how to express themselves, to grow up and be scarred because I didn't nurture them in all the aspects.
Mm-hmm. And actually, you mentioned we mentioned our childhood, like both of us. Once again, you mentioned that you were quote unquote whooped as a child, and I was too. So I know my mom and daddy watching, so I don't care. I know your mama, y'all whooped us now. So,
I did.
but you said that you were going to take a different approach,
right?
So
And
how
so,
does go
yeah,
ahead?
me and Anthony, we don't physically hear or do anything to our kids. We use other tools as far as to teach and to discipline, because discipline means to teach. And so like when they do something wrong or maybe they're not listening, we do a lot of what people would consider timeout. But usually timeout for us looks like we removing whichever one it is of them from the environment, and we go and we sit and we talk about, okay, why did you do this, or why did you say this? This is what I need you to do. This is what you're supposed to do next time. Because oftentimes we think that, for example, if the child we tell the child the stove hot and the child go touch it, oh, they know better. They just doing that, not trying to listen. But in their minds, I see the light in the stove. I'm just trying to touch the light. They don't understand, okay, this is a form of danger. And we can't understand the child. We can't expect the child to understand. We have grown people who really do got common sense and know better, and we let them slide. We have our supervisors who know better and treat us any kind of way and disrespect us and don't listen, and we let them slide. But for some reason, when it comes to children, there is this there's not the same amount of grace, and to me that's backwards, because like I said, they're kids and they're growing and they're learning. Their minds are like sponges. They're exploring. They're just doing all the things, and so we have to show our kids grace. And so that was for me, having a degree also in human development that helped me to really learn about just how their brain functions. And a lot of times I see people where my mama did it to me, or and I turned out fine, or but it's like, are you really fine? Because you're angry all the time. You can't really express your emotions. You don't feel comfortable speaking up when something is wrong. And there are plenty of studies that show that whooping or any type of physical discipline, or whatever terms that you like to use, are linked to negative emotions, are linked to lower IQs. They've been linked to many different negative things per se. And it doesn't always work. You got to get to the root of the problem. I hear people say, well, I keep whooping them and they keep doing the same thing. You have to get to the root. If that's not working, do something else. Do something else.
And you studied what in college? What was your major?
I have my bachelor's degree in human development and family studies with a concentration in family and child studies.
Okay, so this is not something that's your opinion. This
No,
is
I
something
can back it up with some facts.
Okay, so you're not an advocate of the traditional,
Right.
the whooping, and actually, I don't know. Do you know where the whooping came from?
Oh, slavery.
Okay, well, let's go there, I guess, because like you said, a lot of times we hold on to those traditions
Yeah.
that were given to us. Go
I
ahead.
think it was just one of those things, like we seen them do it to us to get us to obey, to get us to listen, to get what they wanted us to do, and we just kept going with the tradition. You know, they made us do it to each other, and so it just became one of those things that became generational. It's the same thing, like when I talked earlier about how, you know, we used to breastfeed, but then there was a change because the white people, they were using formula because they didn't really know how to breastfeed. And so when Black people started to be able to obtain the resources, we started to use formula. They was actually, when formula was first created, they actually started catering formula to the Black people to get us to stop breastfeeding. And so now there aren't many people, especially people of color, Black people, that breastfeed. It's mostly white people, and that's another reason why I'm getting this certification,
Okay.
this breastfeeding certification, so that I can help Black moms breastfeed. But yeah, I definitely think that this stems from way back when, and it's just something that we learn, like, this is what we do because this is what works. This is how you get them to listen. This is how you get them to obey. I am glad to see now that more people are looking into other measures. Other people are looking into, not even just when it comes to parenting, but like with mental health. People are looking into therapy. People are looking into like different things. And I'm glad to see that we're starting to really go back to our roots and break down some of this trauma and break down some of the things that we passed down that shouldn't have came down, and things like that.
Yeah, and definitely you mentioned something about that formula, what they call the Similac and all of those. And actually, I've heard that those formulas are made by some of the drug companies, the major drug companies.
Yeah.
So and it's like, okay, well, why is formula being made by drug companies? So I assume I mean nothing is more probably better for the child than breast milk from the
Right.
mother that birthed them. So
And I tell people, and there's literally only about 5% of people who really can't breastfeed, due to medical conditions. Most people that say that they can't breastfeed, or they think that they have low supply, they just haven't been educated. We see people give formula and they're giving 6, 7, 8 ounces to these newborn babies. Breastfed babies are never supposed to have that much. And so when you get a mom who doesn't know any better and she's only seeing, okay, my babies, I'm only getting 3 ounces when I pump, for example. But she see this other baby that may be getting formula drinking 8 ounces, she'll think, oh, I'm not making enough. But the difference between breast milk and formula is just powder and water. Breast milk is actually, it has fat in it, it has nutrients in it, it has vitamins in it. Even as the baby ages 6, 7, 8, 9 months, they will never need to go up on how much breast milk they drink, because the breast milk will change its contents. Even if you're sick, and this is crazy, right? Even if you're sick, your breast milk will change colors and conform to give your baby the extra antibodies to prevent your baby from getting sick.
wait a minute. So if the mother is sick, that's what you're saying. If the mother is sick, the breast milk will make a change in itself.
You can notice a change in the color and a change in the contents. Yes.
And to make sure that the baby still gets the milk,
For
but
immunity.
it doesn't get the sickness.
Yep.
So that I mean, that's natural immunity, right?
Yeah.
Like our
Yeah.
bodies are actually made to protect themselves. Kate and Michelle Slip. We have about two more minutes on the radio station. So, but I'm gonna read this one. Kate and Michelle Smith says, "I worked with La Leche Group in the past. Are you familiar with them?
Yes, I've heard of them.
Okay, are they a
It's a breastfeeding group.
okay.
Mhm.
Okay, so breastfeeding. It said none of those women that were in that group were black.
Oh,
Also,
wow. That
Therese
don't surprise me.
Boyd Jackson said, are you open to working with and training people of other ethnic backgrounds?
I
Besides,
am open to true allies. And when I say true allies, I don't mean people who just say, I want to help you and help your people. I'm talking about people that are actually willing to put in the work, that are actually going to speak out when these injustices happen towards my people. So if they're true allies, I'm willing to connect, I'm willing to partner. But I need to see some action behind those words.
all right, I'm gonna pause right here because we have about a minute left on the radio station. Just speaking to my radio audience, we're gonna keep it live on our social media. But I do want to say thank you to all of our listeners out in radio. Once again, you have listened to the UTurn Show here at 106.9 FM. Awesome Radio. Make sure you go to the website once again, www.awesomeradio.com .org and download our apps on Google, Apple, and Alexa. Also, remember we are on GPAT TV here in the local area, so you can catch episodes of all of our shows here at Awesome Radio. Once again, we want to thank all of our supporters and all of our regular listeners as well. And if anyone needs the services, how can they get with you?
So you can check out my Facebook page, Passion Grantham, or you can contact me through my business page. It's Passionate Beginnings NC. Um, either
Pass.
either one of those is fine. Or passionatebeginnings@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. If you need doula services, I also do early gender testing, lactation support. I have so many services. So if you're pregnant and need something, just reach out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening on the radio. For our Facebook audience, please stay tuned. Lord, I need you to smile on me. Lord, I'm bleeding.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. So yeah, we're still going once again out into all of our Facebook listeners. I guess you can follow Passionate Beginnings on Instagram as well. And you do work with and trains others outside the background. And now what do you mean by allies though? You mean because we talked about, you know, some of the inconsistencies in the medicine, but also it extends, you know, in every aspect of life. And I know that you are uh, a staunch advocate for social justice. I think, you know, when we saw a couple of years back all of the unrest, you were you know very vocal about
Yes.
things. How is, you know, that translating into what you're doing now, and are you still as staunch, as passionate
Yeah.
about social justice?
I think that anybody that knows me will definitely say I am for the culture 100%. And so because there are such extreme disparities, that is why that I mainly I cater my services to people of color. And that isn't to say I won't serve a person of color, but most people of color, they already have the outside resources that they feel comfortable with or that they may choose to go to. Whereas people of color, especially here in Wayne County, there is no, really nowhere where people feel or people to have reported to me that they felt comfortable. So I have become a lot of safe place for people of color, and all my clients have been people of color. Well, majority of them, because I have had some early gender clients that were not people of color. But when it comes to collaborating with me and my name being on something or me being tied with someone, I am not going to be tied with someone or to be collaborating or working with someone that is not trying to help better or to help um me fight this battle or to help me with trying to bridge the gap. I can't connect myself with that because I mean we there's already enough going on as it is, and then I can't be trying to teach you why I have to do what I do and why the disparities exist and why we need the resource. I ain't got time to teach you. I need for you to learn on your own because that's tiring in itself. You know, Black people, we always have to try to teach or explain ourselves why we feel like we feel, why, you know, why this and why that. No, I want you to research for yourself, to learn for yourself. And if you're down for the cause, absolutely. But if you feel like, oh, well, this, you know, like this ain't a big deal, I hear a lot of people like this really isn't happening. Like even when I show them the statistics in Wayne County, oh, well, they're just not eating properly. Why aren't they eating properly? Have you thought about how many of people of color live in food deserts where they don't have access to whole foods? But when you go to the other neighborhoods, they got the whole foods. They got the nice grocery stores with the fresh foods. They have the farmers market. Let's talk about it. But then they don't want to talk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you are definitely a I guess a fact giver. Like, you know, there's one thing about having an opinion, or you, like you said, you can show them, you know,
Right.
the disparities. So and why do you, why, like let's say they're talking about now that, you know, that there was a big discussion about the CRT, the critical race theory, and how they are, you know, not wanting it to be taught.
Yeah.
And somebody came up with a term called white fragility, meaning, you know, just the mere mention of what was done to our ancestors by their ancestors make them uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So more than what was actually done, like just them feeling bad. So how do you, like, what, like you said, you don't have time to explain how you feel anymore, because, so what is the next step?
I think the next step is definitely taking our power back, and that is a part of me doing the work that I do. I'll give you a real deep example. So when we're pregnant, when women are pregnant, um, we the babies hear our heartbeat for 10 months because you're pregnant for 10 months. They hear our voices for 10 months. They are the only people on this planet that know us literally from the inside out. The only people, right? And
Mhm.
so when they come out, and even during labor, your body releases oxytocin, which is considered like the love hormone. So your baby's feeling all this love. Your baby's hearing your voice. Your baby is ready to meet you. And as soon as they come out and open up their eyes, majority of the time, and not all the time, but majority of the time, it's a white male doctor, or just a white person, period. So all those feelings that baby has been storing up, waiting to see my mama, they're going to associate those feelings with the first face that they see, because the first face they should see is mom. But usually the first face they see is the person who catches the baby, which is the nurse, the doctor, or the midwife, physician, whatever, OB, whatever title that they have. And then, you know, they want to take the baby and wipe the baby off and, you know, do all the other stuff. And so the baby, like, they associate that with that person. And so we have to take the power back. You should be the first person that your baby sees. Your baby should lay eyes on you. We have to be educated. We have to stop allowing people to just tell us anything. We have to research. Stop I'm not going to say stop taking all these medicines, but let's try to be preventative before it gets to this point where we have to be dependent on medicine. I'm very big on herbal remedies. That's what got us through all these years. And now Big Pharma is making money with the medicines. And like I said, there are some extreme cases, obviously, that medicines are needed, but let's do what we can before we get there. And let's try to eat better. Let's go to keep ourselves up. Let's learn how to pay attention to our bodies. I did a seminar over the summer because so many women don't even know when they're ovulating. So many women don't even know what ovulation means. They don't even know. So many women like, oh well, if I don't want to get pregnant, I have to get on birth control. And there are many natural ways to prevent getting pregnant. But if people aren't taught, and not everybody has the same drive to go and, okay, I'm gonna research, I'm gonna die, but we have to get that. We have to get our resources back. We have to start acquiring our land, start building our schools, our communities, we just got to take the power back, because right now we ain't got the power. And because we don't have the power that we need to get ahead and to stay afloat, we kind of just got to do pretty much whatever society say we got to do.
Mm-hmm. And so you mentioned, like I said, taking the power back. Now, your children are at the age 3 and 1. Of course, they're not in school yet.
Right.
But one thing, and I know your mother's an educator as well. So being that we know that, I mean, from my experiences, the education, everything that we learn is biased against us. What is your plan for your children? Because sometimes actually I do feel like kind of bad, like telling my daughter, okay, you got to do better in school. You got to learn this and that, but half of the stuff I ever learned in school is useless and has been useless.
It's funny that you mention that, because
I mean, high school. I mean, not
yeah.
Some is college too, but so what are your plans as far as and go ahead with that point that you're gonna make?
Oh yeah, I literally just told my mom the other day. I said, we were talking about something, and I was like, Mama, I literally researched everything, because everything I feel like I was taught in school was a lie. Like you know how they taught in school, not Michael Jackson, Martin Luther King was killed at the hotel. Like, no, he was smuggled at the hospital.
Yeah, he died in the hospital.
Yeah, like, and it's like, but they don't teach you that. You know what I'm saying? It's wow to me. And I think the most important thing is to definitely teach at home. I was even talking with my brother. Growing up, majority of my schooling, I was in the inner city schools. And so I felt like I got that sense of learning about me, where I came from, learning about my ancestors, and not only the bad, but the good stuff too. And so, like, middle school, like 6th grade, my mom switched me to a not inner city school. And for me, it was a culture shock, and that's where everything for me changed. And my brother was saying the same thing. He was like, yeah, I never thought about that. Like, that is really where things changed for me. And so when I went there,
what do you mean by change?
So for me, like I said, it was a culture shock, because I was around so many people that weren't like me, that it was almost like, I don't really kind of fit in here. But I've always been the type too, like, I don't have to fit in with the crowd. So the same me I am now, I've kind of always been very outspoken, very passionate, as you would call it. And so I even remember going to like middle school and high school. Like I said, I wasn't in any inner city schools, never heard anything about Black history. I didn't get a Black teacher until high school, after like my whole middle school. And when I got to high school, and my male teacher was a band teacher.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to a PWI. I let my mom talk me out of taking my full ride at a HBCU. But I went to a PWI, and I did not get a African American teacher until my senior year of college.
Okay.
And so for me, I want my kids to know how to live in a world full of different people. But I also want my kids to be strong in self, and strong in their identity, and strong in who they are and where they came from. And don't let anybody let them feel any way about that. Even when I was like having kids, and people say like, don't name them that, because people gonna know they Black and they can't get a job. If they don't want to hire my kids because they Black, I don't want them to work there anyway. I can name them Sarah and Sue, and when they get in there and see they Black, if they ain't gonna hire them, they ain't gonna hire them. Therefore, I'm gonna name my kids something that has some meaning, something that's gonna stick with them, and something that they gonna remember them names.
Yeah, you're right. Because and actually it's funny you talk about names. I never had a problem when I when I went to interviews or sending resumes. I always got called back because my name was Richard Taylor, like probably like one of the plainest, maybe even the whitest names, maybe. But I've grown to love and I see what my parents were doing. But I also I you said something that's so powerful. That means, being comfortable with who you are, like being foundational Black Americans, who we are, because we've been, and just going back to the school, we've been taught, once again, all through my school years, and I'm sure pretty much everybody who's probably on this line can agree that only thing we pretty much learned in school was the greatness of white people.
Yeah.
To some degree, like you said, like only thing I read was, George Washington never told a lie, Columbus discovered America, Abraham freed the slaves, Paul Revere rode the horse, Albert Einstein was the greatest scientist, the Pythagorean theorem, Louis Pasteur. So all of those things have an effect on you.
Yes.
If you don't know who you are, and
that's it.
And you begin to, start an inferiority complex when the only thing that you are taught about Black people in school were slavery. Martin Luther King had a dream, Rosa Parks sat on the bus, and we were slaves.
Yep, that's it. That's all.
And so how important it is to teach, your children.
From home.
Oh yeah, my mom said Richard Antonio Taylor. That's right. She put the Antonio on. So yes,
a little bit of culture in there.
Yeah, Antonio. I like Antonio. I love my name, man. I'm just joking.
And don't get me wrong. If you want to name your child Sarah, by all means name your child Sarah, but don't name your child Sarah because you don't want people to know they Black. Don't do that. Just name your child Sarah because you just like the name Sarah.
Yeah, and even Dr. Smith says, even in predominantly white schools, it is a cultural shock because cultural sensitivity, awareness, and diversity lacks with many of the educators.
And that's what I felt.
That's so true. I remember. I think there was a principal in Goldsboro who lasted maybe like a half a year, who asked his white teachers to write a cultural sensitivity paper for understanding Black. So, do you remember that?
Yeah.
They got rid of him so fast. There was nothing egregious about that.
Nope. I have really learned that they don't like to see themselves, and I guess that's just people in general. We don't like to see ourselves in a bad way. So the last thing that they want to believe about themselves is that they're racist. But it's like,
yeah.
Or when I hear people, hey AP, when I hear people say like, oh, Black people are racist. Black people cannot be racist.
And why is that? Explain to people why Black people can't be racist.
Black people can't be racist because racism comes from a place of power. Black people can't be prejudiced because prejudice comes from just having a ill feeling or a negative connotation towards a certain group of people. But we do not systematically have the power to make any rules, laws, or regulations that affect any other group of people.
Exactly.
Only white people have that power.
Yeah. And I always explain to people too, like, every job I've ever had, with the exception of my own jobs and maybe a few, but like the company was owned by a white person, and the supervisors were more likely white, and they had the power to hire or fire me.
Yep.
Every court system I went to, with the majority of the DAs, the judges were white. Every hospital I went to, the majority of the doctors, nurses, administrators were white. So that's what we mean by saying we don't have the power to be racist. We can't be prejudiced. We can't be biased. We can't be bigoted towards it. But the ability to deny someone the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that defines racism. It
doesn't lie in our hands.
Yeah. So, yeah, and it is something that she mentioned as well. Dr. Perkins was like, the educators, and I got to take this back once again to the high school and the elementary schools. Like the majority of the schools in most areas, most urban areas, sometimes are the majority of teachers are middle class white women from the suburbs. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have that connection with the black students, and especially the young black energetic boys who are just being boys, but if they don't have that connection, if they can't be able to speak with them, then they're diagnosed as
that relationship.
Yeah, they have no relationship, so therefore they get castigated, they get marginalized, they get almost criminalized early as
prison to school to prison pipeline starts in 3rd grade. They measure how many prisons to build based off of third grade in the grade test. 3rd grade.
Wow. Okay, and let me see. Brother Motif says the biggest thing to me is that when you take the foundation of our cultural history away, you take away the true identity and ethics from generations. Hope comes from history. Fight comes for understanding, and power comes from knowledge. Definitely. And that's one thing. Like I said, we have to unlearn
and relearn
who we were taught. We have to unlearn who we were taught we are, and then go back and learn. Like I said, because Black history didn't start, with slavery. Black actually, if you want to be technical, Black history started with the Bible. Some of the first people on earth, like you mentioned, Henrietta Lacks was the lady that they took her cells. Because she had all of her cells contained all of the DNA,
and they still been used to this day. She never got.
They still reproducing themselves to this day.
To this day, and her family has did lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit, have not gotten a dime.
And many people don't even know who Henrietta Lacks is, though.
Many people didn't know who Emmett Till did. They just did the series about Emmett Till. I talked to so many people that did not know who Emmett Till was, and I was surprised.
Yeah, because once again, that shows the ugly underbelly of America. So in order to once again make somebody feel good, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to sweep that under the rug. That never happened.
We got to apply the pressure. I think that the whole time where we were fighting for equality, we should have been fighting for equity. I really kind of feel like that's where we went wrong. Because we have the same rights, if you will, but we still don't have the same resources. We still don't have the same. It's just still not the same. It's like it's not the same. I feel like we should have been just fighting for equity to because we needed a little boost because we were behind all those years from all the things that were stolen from us. So we didn't need. Let's say, for instance, y'all had 3 blocks. We needed 5 blocks because we was already a little short. We was a little bit behind. We needed 5 blocks in order to meet y'all 3 blocks so that we both could be standing at equal level. Because y'all had 3 boxes. Y'all gave us 3 boxes, but we're behind, so we're still lacking. We're still not equal.
Yeah, and actually, once again, like once again, Dr. Perkins says equity matters too. What I'm saying? Equality is different than equity. That means treating everybody the same no matter where they at, like what position they are. But you mentioned once again like that integration thing. That's one thing I've studied as well, because it shows that when we were segregated, we were more dependent upon ourselves. Once again, we had our own banks. We like you said, we had to have our own babies. We had to look out for one another. We pulled together. There were thriving Black businesses, thriving Black communities all across the nation. And then my guy Judge Bill Brown said, okay, we all the thing we asked for, we didn't ask for anything. We just wanted to use the same toilet stool that you was using. Like what,
we fought to sit at the same tables that they didn't even want us at, instead of just fighting for us to have our own better tables where we was at. And so then once we did start to, okay, well now we can use y'all stuff now, then it was we let go of everything that we had because now
Exactly.
we got their stuff. And so now that, okay, well now they coming over here, so we can just do what we want because now they don't really have anything over there.
Exactly.
So we can just, it's
Exactly.
free game over here. Now we looking crazy.
Yeah, but see, I think that once again, that was a psychological thing where, you've been beat down for so long. We want you to accept us as people. We want you to accept us. And once again, like it doesn't matter. People are going to be evil, or they're not going to accept you in a lot of ways. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So instead of looking for their acceptance, we should have been staying on our own. On our own humanity. But so now, like you said, and we all depend on, if Walmart shuts down tomorrow, where we're going to get food from, because nobody, has their, we have a few people who farm, grow their own gardens. But back in the days, no, we grew
our own food. Like, y'all want to share
our own clothes. We sold our own clothes.
Our own banks, our own land.
We built our own, our own houses from the ground up. Now, we work all, week, and we pay somebody for those things, which we used to provide for ourselves. And so it's definitely, I think
to their bank to try to get their loan that they're gonna try to find any loophole to deny you for anyway. It's crazy.
Yeah, but it's definitely, once again, that's something that I'm glad that people like yourself have the knowledge and have the passion, for lack of other word, to just to bring these issues to the forefront and not be afraid. Once again, Depressed said, if we made our own community, we would all be westerly. Truth is, we created a lot of this, just not written. And you're right. A lot of these things, like America, we built this country because people don't understand. When they went over to Africa, or when they didn't get slaves, they got architects, they got farmers, they got builders, they got mathematicians, they got scientists. So all of those things that we were doing over there were built to bring up this country, but nobody ever talks that.
And not to mention, people were already here.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. Let's
y'all stole everything we had. Like we our folks was here, our cousins was here already, and y'all ran them out and killed them off.
Yeah,
and said y'all founded this place, and y'all did.
It actually is I don't know if you ever seen the Hidden Colors series with Brother Tariq Nasheed, but if you get a chance, it's 1 through 5. If y'all get a chance, because I know y'all on the knowledge, but that's going to open your eyes up, because it shows the quote unquote American Indian tribes who look just like me and you, darker than me and you. So they paint this picture that those were black people over there. And if you know the Olmec statues down there in South America, there are big statues with big lips, big noses, black skin, rough hair, that were here when they went to quote unquote explore the world. Discover, and people say they're great explorers. They were robbers, rapists, murderers, thieves. So it's good to know that somebody of your age who is willing to pass this information on. And Terica says this high fashion brands like Gucci and Louis go to Africa, and that's where the prints come from. Yeah,
and they explore and they make the money off of, because oftentimes, like I said, we don't have the resources to do what we need to do. They want our rhythm, but not our blues. We the life of the party. We the fashionistas. We the inventors, the everything, and they just take our ideas and take the credit for it.
Yeah, and it's funny you said that, because I was just looking at the Super Bowl, and we had, everybody loves. I liked it. I ain't even gonna front. I like the music. But we are still dealing with, the racism And also not just in, not just in the world, but even, right now there's a thing with the football coaches, like
Right.
black coaches,
I've been reading up on
and there are no black owners as well. So when we talk about that, but everybody, I remember, a few years back, people said we're not watching no more NFL. But now the same people that said that were talking about how good the halftime show was, good for.
If every black person in the NFL said they weren't gonna play, it wouldn't be no NFL, and that's in sports. Period.
Yeah,
that's sports. Period. It wouldn't be no sports.
Yeah, but we soon forget though. We forget. Everybody gets outraged, and we're not going to do this. And then we get a couple of sayings, we get a couple of tributes.
Consistency.
We're definitely not consistent on being, because once again, what it boils down to is the bottom line is the money. If the owners, or if anybody, the police, or big racist businesses, if their bottom line, which means their money that they're set to make, is not affected, then there's no changes that's going to be made. So
you gotta hit them where it hurts.
We don't understand that just like once again that boycott thing, where they did that in Montgomery and everybody pulled together, and when the city started hurting, they was like, all right, okay,
we're gonna change these rules.
So, but and that's the same thing with the political system, and I know a lot of people don't. I don't like to talk about the politics too much because everybody has their different views, but it's almost like we're going to vote Democrat regardless, no matter how much they ignore us, right? So they don't have a reason to give us anything. They don't have any reason to, we don't come with them for an agenda. And then the Republicans, they know, okay, we're not going to vote for them no matter what. So we know we don't got to give you nothing because you're not going to vote for us, bro. I just think that we need to reevaluate, how we vote. Once again, everybody has their feelings on voting. Voting is important.
And let's not even talk about how they are put. They're always constantly trying to make stipulations to keep the black vote down, to keep us from voting, because they say we are the minority, but we are the majority. And when it comes to election time, our votes really matter.
Yeah.
And they do whatever they can to keep us from voting.
But the thing is, though, we got to demand something, I think, for our vote. We got to come in a voting block and say, okay, we're going to vote for you, but in return, we need this. So we got to vote more organizing, and put pressure on these people who continuously overlook us when it's time for tangible things like money and our laws.
Every other group in America, like every other group, has gotten reparations except for us.
Yeah. So it's definitely something that needs to be. But going back to what you do though, because there was a comment. You said I was doing a gender, something like that. You were
early gender testing, yes.
Yeah. So what is? Oh, okay. So you actually find out what gender the baby is.
Yeah, so that parents can come in as early as 7 weeks, and I take a blood sample. I have a
7 weeks.
Yes, as early as 7 weeks.
7 weeks.
Yes, and so I have a phlebotomist, and she comes and she'll draw the sample, and we send it out to the lab, and they'll have their results back in 2 days.
And so and that'll get them the gender of the child that they're gonna have. All right, and you mentioned so many things that you do. I do it all because I be trying to help my people. And I have one other doula that works. We partner, and then I have another doula that serves for backup for me. So I got me a small team. So I'm constantly. Are they around here?
My phlebotomist and my doula is around here. My backup doula, she's in Chapel Hill, but she's from Goldsboro, so she kind of back and forth. So if I ever get like where I got two moms, kind of laboring at the same time, or, if I'm tired, I need to get some rest for a couple of hours, stuff like that, I call one of them, to come and tap in for me so I can attend to what I
So you might be there through the whole labor process, like the whole.
Oh yeah. Usually when I get there, I don't leave. And that's usually because things can change so fast. So I'd be scared if I'm gonna leave that I'm gonna miss something. So I've literally been at birth 3 days. So that's 3 days not seeing my kids, 3 days, like I've missed school, whatever case may be, to be there and support my clients. And even though I have clients that may not like, they may say like, I'm going to I don't want to breastfeed, or I want to go get an epidural. My job is ultimately to support them, so I support in whatever decision they make. But this, I always tell everybody up front, like, this is what I advocate for. But if you choose to do something different, I'm gonna support you regardless, because the overall thing is I want you to be satisfied, and I don't want anybody trying to take advantage of you, and I don't want you or your baby to be a part of this mortality rate.
Mm-hmm. So it's like you invested in their lives. I'm pretty sure, like, so like now, you have that connection. Like you're gonna have what, like 30, 40 godchildren already.
Listen, I still talk to all my clients, like, even when my services are over, it's like we still family. Like, I still talk to all of them.
Because that's
like,
emotional.
If they have other children, usually they hire me again. Like, I'm stuck. Stuck like that.
But that, once again, I've never been pregnant, never had to go through that. But I can just imagine like what that feels like to have somebody there, because a lot of people, I mean, once again, as that show, are single. They don't have the man there with them, or if they do, he may be at work, or he's trying to grab. He got this baby on the way. He got to get the money up or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And
I can imagine.
I've traveled. I've been to Greensboro to do births. I've been to Raleigh. Like, I be here, there, and everywhere. Especially for like people that I know really don't have nobody. Like, I'm always there. And even if I've had some births where they didn't need me per se physically, but virtually, I was able to provide services like that. So I literally work with everybody with. Look at my mom, but tell me you do virtual births. But I literally, I work with all my clients and to provide services. I have clients that want to talk to me every day, and I literally have had clients that I don't hear nothing from them until it's time to have a baby. So whichever way they rocking, I'm rolling. As long as whatever they feel like they need to be supported, that's what I do.
And she said you do dual mentorship.
Yes, I do mentorship. So like when I did get my doula training, they don't really teach you about like what to do afterwards. And when I went to my training, like there were literally no people of color, not in any of the educational models, not in any of the worksheets, not nothing. And so I had to kind of create my own path, because I knew that I wanted to really help people of color. And so I had to create my path, because there are additional things that I have to implement with dealing with people. We're dealing with people of color. And so I help other doulas, with business startup, if they need help with like their graphics. My husband, he does websites and flyers and graphic logos, all that good stuff. And I help them with securing clients, with coming up with contracts, coming up with prices, all that good stuff. Because that, like, you don't learn any of that in training. You just learn, okay, this is what you do, and then you just kind of out there on your own. I've been doing this for 5 years now, so I had to learn a lot on my own. And if I could save somebody else the time and the headache, I'm gonna do it.
And she said, I'm ready for your event. What event are you having?
So I'm actually planning something very special for the community. It's still in the works. Some more details will be coming out soon, but it will be giving people the inside scoop of what I do. And I will drop a hint that y'all will get to hear from some of my clients about their experiences, raw and uncut.
Okay, well, definitely keep me informed as well. And here she goes again. Hold on, wait a minute. Margaret from Trail said, "You are great, P."
Thank you, Miss Margaret.
Terica Rose says, "You will be blessed." And
thank you.
She said, "Tell them what you're going to NC A&T for now."
Yes, I'm driving back and forth to North Carolina A&T to get a certification, International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. So it's a global certification. And with that certification, I'll actually be able to help people breastfeed. I already have a resource center here. And so I plan to do outpatient. So like you can come see me once you leave the hospital because we don't have any outpatient clinics here. And actually with that certification, I can actually build insurance. So for people that have like Medicaid, things like that, they'll be able to come and see me. Right now, doulas aren't covered by Medicaid, and so people have to pay out of pocket, but I do offer like payment plans and things of that sort. But I have met with Raymond Smith, and he has said that there's been some discussion about the legislature signing a bill for doulas to be covered by Medicaid because they've already done it in other states. So hopefully that'll come sooner than later.
Wow.
That'll really help with the accessibility barriers for a lot of the population.
Exactly. Because right now, I guess what people have to pay out of pocket.
Right. And that's why I offer payment plans. And I have like 7 different packages for them to choose from based off of what their financial situation is.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Yeah, you really are a great, like I said, because like I said, my mother says you are doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so you're definitely, like I said, I see you have a large, a lot of people that you've impacted, and your husband said it's great to see you live and enjoy what you do.
He got to come with me for the first time. I had a mom, she did an unassisted birth. This was about 2 weekends ago. So it was just her and her fiance. She didn't choose to have a medical professional. So her fiance and me, she delivered her own baby at home, delivered her own placenta, all that good stuff. But he got to do birth photography. So that was his first time seeing me in action. And so he was just like hyping me up, like you did your thing, like girl, you know what you're talking about. And I was like, yo, this is dope. And that was our first time getting to work together. And so me seeing him, like he getting all the pictures and stuff, I'm like, man, this is really dope.
And that was her fiance, your client's fiance.
No, my husband. Yeah, my husband did birth photography for that birth because they happened with their photographer. And so he came and shot pictures because they wanted pictures.
Wow.
So my client that birthed in the hospital because of COVID, he can't come and take pictures at the hospital. So that was his first time seeing me like in my element.
Oh, okay. So he was able to get you. Okay.
Yes.
So you said she had an unassisted birth, meaning just you,
her, and her fiance. So she didn't hire a midwife to come and attend the birth.
Wow.
Amazing experience.
That's awesome. Like,
and I prepped her beforehand because I had, I had a home birth, but I also let her know, I don't do anything medical because I'm just a doula. So I let her know, like, this is what you need to do. I told her where she can get her supplies from. We kind of went over, okay, what we need to do. Like if this happens, if an emergency happens, this is the plan, kind of went over the whole ordeal, but everything went fine. She was only in labor about 4 hours. So it wasn't really long. It was her second baby. And so everything went perfect, and that was a truly an amazing experience.
That's I don't know. Like I saw my baby born that one time, and I was like, "Yo, hurry up!"
Yeah, he was kind of like the fiance. He was helpful. Like if I say, well, can you get, go grab her some ice or do this? But he was kind of like chilling too. Like I'ma just listen to what you say. Like, so I understand that too.
Yeah, but to do it constantly though, that has to once again be a special, but also rewarding too, because you bring in life to the world. And
it's so magical, like when they really get into like the peak of labor and like they start humming and they're singing, to get through those contractions. It's such a beautiful sound to my ears. Like, and every woman has a different sound. I know it sounds crazy, but every woman has like a different sound, and I love to hear the tune. Like after every birth, like I'm on high, I can't sleep. It's just so magical to me. Just see the whole process. I be high. Y'all be in the clouds.
That's awesome. You said every mother has a different tone?
A different tune. Like, so when they get into it's something about getting to like that peak, and they may hum or they may sing or they may chant. Each one of my moms has done something different. And that's how I know, like, okay, we're at the peak. Like it's almost time. It's to the point where
the baby about to come.
Yeah, like they can't talk. They're doing something, and it's usually something repetitive every time a contraction comes, and it's like music to my ears. I think it's so amazing.
Is that what that's what you teach them to do?
That's just what they do. I don't teach them. That's just what they do.
Oh, okay. Because every time I see one like on the movies, like the ladies just screaming.
It's never like that. I've never had a screamer.
Oh, okay. See,
that is for TV. I've never had a screamer. I've never had like nobody like cuss me out or do anything that you see on TV. None of that.
So, what are some of the misconceptions of pregnancies that like you said, like when I just said, like, okay, I see people. I thought every woman screams, cusses their husband out, get out of here.
It's never like that. Another common misconception: if your baby's too big, that you have to get induced. That is not true. Like literally, one of my clients pushed out a 10-pound, 13-ounce baby, no medicine, no nothing. Big babies does not mean that you have to get a C-section or you have to get induction, or they'll say like the baby's too small. There's no real way to tell how big or how small the baby is because ultrasounds can't accurately detect. That client that did that 10-pound, 13-ounce baby, at her last appointment 12 days before, they told her baby was 7 pounds. Her baby was almost 11 at birth. Ain't no way that baby gained all that weight in 12 days. Another common misconception is when they talk about due dates, because due date is just the estimate. Baby can come anytime, before, after. They're going to come whenever they're ready, and most of the time babies are going to come in the middle of for some reason it's something about that nighttime that most babies, literally all my doula babies, usually come in the middle of the night, wee hours of the morning. I don't know what that's about, but that's what they tend to do. And definitely, like I said earlier, like you have to have your baby in the hospital. We do have birthing centers in North Carolina, and so they're like in between hospital and home, but we don't have any that are like super close to here. The one that we did have in Cary that was closed, they got closed because they was having like some financial stuff going on.
So birthing center is like
a hotel almost that you rent out to have your baby, and so you pay to go there and to get your care by them. Like, so they do your prenatal care when you have the baby. You go, and like the one in Cary, for example, they have 4 different rooms, and so that you're assigned to like one of the rooms. But when you go in there, it's not like a hospital. Like, it has a jacuzzi, it has like a nice queen size bed, you got all your different birthing tools, you got a closet space. Like, it actually looks like home per se. It looks comfortable. And then after you have your baby, like 4 or 5 hours, they make sure you and baby okay, then you're able to go home.
Okay. And so
that's another thing that I noticed between my home birth and my hospital birth. A lot of stuff they do in the hospital is so unnecessary. Like after I had my home birth, I had my baby, I went and got in the bed. Nobody bothered me. In the hospital, they come and they bother you every 10 minutes. They don't want you, they tell you not to eat, but they don't want you to eat because they say in case of a C-section, but C-section should be for emergency. We shouldn't be planning not to eat for a C-section if we don't know that it's like, it should be an emergency. C-section should be something like, oh my gosh, this is wrong, we got to go right now. It shouldn't be something that we're already planning for to happen. Okay. And so they'll tell you not to eat. During my home birth, my midwife highly encouraged me to eat, which I ate in my hospital birth anyway because I knew better. But I ain't go eat. Don't go eat no Big Mac or nothing like that. But I ate like cheese and grapes, like light foods, because you people been labeled for a long time, and you cannot push out no human if you ain't had nothing but some ice chips that they done gave you at the hospital. It just ain't finna happen.
Why do they why do they give you ice chips? Why is that? What is their reasoning behind that?
Just because it's ice and they don't want you to eat no food.
Oh, okay. So they figure they'll fool you by chewing ice.
Yeah, and it don't, I mean, you ain't gonna get full off there, and your stomach growling, then your body gets tired because it has no fuel. Then you want an epidural. Then after the epidural, then it's the epidural slows down. Epidural actually slows down your labor. Another thing a lot of people don't know, epidural has fentanyl in it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a drug though, right?
Yeah.
And doesn't that get in the baby bloodstream?
Usually they try to give it to you before you get to a certain point so that it doesn't transfer. But I have seen moms have like reactions, so like itching all over, very fast, accelerated heartbeat, um, bad headaches, like little side effects like that. And it's funny because every time like I've had a client after they get one, they start having these side effects and they mention to the doctors, like nobody knows where it comes from. And then when I'm like, oh, it probably came from the fentanyl, everybody looking like, how she know that? Like, because I read.
So yeah, so why would they put fentanyl? That stuff killing people, right?
Right. They say that they use like a safe dose, because it's meant to paralyze you from the waist down. So apparently they're using like low doses. But as you said, I feel like we ain't even supposed to have this out on the street. So that if I don't care how many doses, I feel like, y'all shouldn't be putting this in this medicine. But they do it anyway. But that's why I try to encourage my clients to stay up and stay active. You do have people that really need them, like for C-sections and stuff like that. Or I hear people say like, I can't take pain. And like I tell people all the time, if it wasn't accessible for you, you wouldn't ask for it. You're only asking for it and feel like you can't do it because you know that it's there and that it's an option. Our ancestors, they didn't have that option. They did what they had to do and they got that baby out. And surprisingly, more babies die now with all this modern medicine than they did back then.
Wow.
When they ain't have no ultrasounds, they ain't have no prenatal appointments, they ain't have none of that, and more babies are dying now. In the care of other people, when we was caring for ourselves, we ain't have all this going on. It's deep.
It's deep. It's deep. It's deep. We was giving this girl food in the hospital. Those fat Brittany Ashford.
Hey, Brittany, she's one of my backups that I was telling you about earlier.
Oh, okay. Hey, Brittany, thank you for what you do as well. Terica Rose, be the light, share the light. You are the passion. Okay.
Yes, I'm trying my best.
Yeah, that's good, man. I certainly appreciate you. We're gonna stay up here all night, but I think we got another show starting at 10. So
okay,
guys, wait. But I certainly thank you for your knowledge, your expertise, your transparency. Thank everybody who listened, tuned in, commented on the show.
Thank you all for your
support. To name. Definitely Dr. Perkins, thank you. My man Brody, Doug Brody, K. Smith, Rob Blunt, Roger Taylor, Keisha DeWitt, Step Willer, Iris Etheridge, Didi Resas, Aries Queen, Duprez. Thank you for loaning us your lovely misses for the evening. Really appreciate you. Mr. Rhodes, thank you as well, David, for sharing it. George Mayhew, thank you for tuning in. So many people. Sister Hamilton, thank you as well for tuning in. My father, Terica, Mael Thompson, thank you again, sir. Alicia Boyette, yes, Passion. Man, it's just so many. Thank you, Miss Jackson, Vashawn Grandy. Man, I just thank everybody. I'm not gonna stop here. Terica again. Oh man, we'll be here another 10 minutes trying to get through all of these. But definitely thank you. Is there anything else that you want to share with the audience before you go? Thank you as well, Felicia Mitchell, always tuning in. Miss Margaret Futrell, Letta Taylor, Brittany, thank you for tuning in as well. And everybody, thank you. Thank you as well for having for loaning your daughter too. But yeah, give us a little more information before we go. We got about 5 or 10 more minutes. What do you want to leave the audience with?
I definitely, like I said, we got to take our power back. We got to start just researching, start reading, start connecting with one another, start supporting one another. I know, like, even for me, I try to keep my dollar in the community as much as possible. And when there isn't somebody that I can find, then I outsource. For some reason, it's bad when we do it, but every other community I know, they do it and it's not a problem. So just keep on, um, even if you don't have kids or you don't want any more kids, tell somebody else, spread the word, be encouraging. If it's something that I taught you today that maybe you didn't know when you had kids, share it to somebody else. Tell somebody to hire a doula, even if it isn't me. Tell somebody to hire a doula. Tell somebody to look into having a birth outside of the hospital if they are low risk. Um, let's just get back to where we need to be, and let's just do better as a community as a whole. Birth is the very beginning of life, and I feel like we got to get it right there, and that'll lead the passageway way at least to the rest. So let's make better choices. We don't want to keep continuing. Like, I know people 20, 30 years later, they still have birth trauma from whatever happened when they had, their kids, and birth trauma is definitely real. But let's make better decisions, and let's choose better options so that we can try to avoid all those things at any cost. Um, like I said, I do the postpartum care. I do doula work. I do placenta encapsulation, breastfeeding jury, breastfeeding support, early sneak peek gender testing. I do. I don't even remember if I said placenta encapsulation. I do it all. And if there's something that you need that I don't do, I'm gonna figure out how to do it so I can support you.
Yeah. You still go to, what was that last one that you said you were going to school for now? It was like a global
IBC, it's the acronym is IBCLC, and they have them in the hospitals. I literally just went to the hospital for that birth that you seen, and I was telling them about it, that I was in school for, because they was miseducating my client. And they asked me, was I coming to work in the hospital? And I was like, nah, we need some outpatient. Like, people need help once they leave the hospital. And so that's why I'm going to go private practice, so that once people leave and they're having issues, they can just come to the resource center, and I can help them that way. So
that's good, man. And like I said, I've been following you, so that's why I reached out to you, because I see how passionate and how driven you are about what you do. And I was like, okay, I have to get you up here, because I doesn't matter what a person does, but if I see, like, they're into it, so much knowledge shared here tonight. Thank you both. Thank you as well for tuning in. And yeah, they're definitely, like Vashawn Granter once again says, I learned a lot of information. Michelle,
thank you.
Great information. So keep spreading, keep posting, because like I said, so many people don't know these things exist, and don't know pros and cons. So that's why I had to get you up here to let you know, because I knew it was something special, just by the way that you talk about it and the way that you're so adamant about what you do. So I want to commend you to keep doing it. Anybody who needs a doula or needs some information, where to get a Passionate Beginnings on Facebook, right?
Passionate Beginnings NC.
And Passionate Beginnings NC. That's a Facebook page. Also, Passionate Beginnings at gmail.com.
Yes, that's my email.
And once again, I thank each and every one of you guys for listening. Tune in next week. We're going to have another great guest, my brother Joe Mo Jones. He's going to give us some great financial information. So, definitely want to tune in to that. We're talking about credit and, building wealth and things like that, taking our power back.
Yes.
By some of the things. So, once again, if y'all available next week, it'll be the same time, 8 p.m. until, as you see, it's supposed to be 9, but they said we go. But I certainly thank you once again. Passion. I wish you much.
Thank you.
Much bleaching. Just keep, you got my information. So just keep me in the loop with whatever you're doing anywhere I can be of assistance, you know.
Sounds good.
Or here in person, just let me know. But
Okay.
I thank you so much for tuning in, and once again, I
Thank
thank
you.
y'all for listening. Y'all have a great night.
Good night.